What if I told you that some of the most powerful, cutting-edge lessons about communication aren't from a modern workshop, but from a story that's about 2,000 years old? It sounds wild, right? Well, today we're going to do just that. We're taking a single chapter from the book of Luke and looking at it through the incredible lens of nonviolent communication. And you'll see how it reveals these amazing insights about connection, empathy, and even conflict.
Everything really kicks off with this one simple but profound question. And who is my neighbor? I mean, this question has echoed for centuries, hasn't it? It's not just some philosophical puzzle. It's a real practical challenge about how we relate to the people right in front of us. And it perfectly sets the stage for everything we're about to unpack.
So, to help us see this ancient text in a new light, we're using a tool called nonviolent communication, or NVC for short. Now, don't let the name fool you. It's not about being passive. It's actually a really dynamic way to speak and listen from a place of compassion. The whole idea, the core of it, is to get past the surface level arguments and focus on universal human needs, things we all share. We're going to apply this NVC lens, looking at observations, feelings, and needs, to 3 totally different encounters in this one chapter. All right, first up, our first story. I call this one The Mission. And it's fascinating because it's not just about how you go about connecting with new people, but, and this is the important part, what you do when that connection gets rejected. Okay, so here's the setup. Jesus sends out a big group of his followers, 72 of them. And their mission is pretty straightforward. Go into new towns, heal people, and share their message. But here's the thing. He doesn't just say, go wing it. He gives them a very specific script, a clear strategy for how to make that crucial first contact. And just look at these steps. It's a brilliant communication strategy. Step 1, offer peace. It's an offering, right? Not a demand. Just a clean, open-hearted way to start. Step 2, receive hospitality. By accepting whatever they're given, they're showing respect. They're connecting on the host's terms. And then step 3, serve and announce. They offer something of value first, healing, before they even get to their main message. It's this beautiful, structured way to build trust. From an NVC perspective, this is all about making clear, non-threatening offers that totally respect the other person's freedom to choose. That all sounds wonderful when people are welcoming. But let's be real, communication doesn't always go smoothly. So the really critical question is, what do you do when that offer of peace and connection is flat out rejected? And this is where it gets really interesting. This slide shows the stark difference between 2 ways to respond. You know the typical reactive response, right? We get angry, maybe throw some insults, take it all super personally. But look at the NVC-style boundary that Jesus suggests here. Even the dust of your town we wipe from our feet. At first, it might sound harsh, but it's not a curse, it's not an attack, it's a symbolic statement of fact. It's basically saying, hey, we made an offering, it wasn't received, and so now we're moving on. It lets them maintain their self-respect without getting aggressive. It's a clean break. That lesson on handling rejection leads us perfectly into the second and probably the most famous story in this chapter. This one directly answers that big opening question, who is my neighbor? And honestly, it's a masterclass in what empathy looks like in the real world. Okay, this table just lays it all out so clearly. You have this man beaten and left for dead on the side of the road, and 3 people come by. Now, the priest and the Levite, they both see him. In NVC terms, they make an observation. But that's where it stops. There's no connection, they don't engage with the man's universal, screaming need for safety and care. And then you have the Samaritan. He sees the exact same thing, but he does something radically different. He moves past just observing and dives headfirst into active empathy, connecting directly with the suffering man's needs. And just look at how practical and real this empathy is. He doesn't just feel bad for the guy. Sure, he feels pity, but then he acts on it. He bandages the wounds. That's meeting the need for physical care. He provides a ride on his own donkey. That's meeting the need for safety. He takes him to an inn. That's shelter. And he even pays for the man's future care. That's security. Every single action is a direct, tangible response to a deep human need. So here's the knockout punch of the story. The Samaritan's actions totally reframe that original question. It's not about defining who qualifies to be your neighbor anymore. This story shows us that neighbor isn't an identity you assign to someone else. It's something you become through your actions. It's about acting with empathy, and it doesn't matter what social or religious box someone fits in. Okay, so let's shift gears for our third and final story. We're leaving the drama on the roadside and stepping right into a home, into a really, really relatable family conflict. And this is where we can see how NVC can be incredibly helpful in our own day-to-day lives. Oh man, we've all been there, haven't we?
Martha is completely overwhelmed, running around, getting things ready, and she looks over and sees her sister Mary just sitting, listening. And her frustration just boils over. Listen to her words. "Lord, don't you care?" And "tell her to help me." That language is just dripping with blame, with judgment, and it ends in a demand.
But if we use our NVC framework to look under the hood, we can see what's really going on. Her observation is fact-based enough. I am doing all the work by myself. Her feelings, oh, they're loud and clear. Worried, upset, probably resentful, and totally overwhelmed. And what's her deep unmet need? It's probably for support, for partnership, or maybe just for someone to see how hard she's working. But the way it all comes out is as a demand, which, as we know, almost always puts people on the defensive.
This slide just illustrates the difference so perfectly. On the left, you have Martha's judgmental language. But what if she had used needs-based language instead? What if she had said something like, "Wow, I'm feeling so overwhelmed by all this work, and I would really, really appreciate some help." Can you feel the difference? One is an attack, the other is an invitation. It just completely changes the entire energy of the conversation.
Now, pay very close attention to how Jesus responds. He doesn't take the bait. He doesn't jump in and scold Mary. He doesn't even do what Martha demanded. Instead, he says, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things." And this, right here, is such a masterful NVC move. He completely sidesteps the demand and connects directly with her feelings. By saying, "You are worried and upset," he's showing her, "I hear you. I see your emotional state." He's not picking a side in the fight. He's connecting with her human experience. And that instantly de-escalates the tension and opens the door for a real conversation about what's actually going on. So, we've looked at these three really different situations, right? A public mission, a roadside crisis, and a private family squabble. So, what's the big picture? What's the takeaway for how we communicate today? When you lay it all out like this, it's actually incredible. These three stories, from just one chapter, they come together to form this amazing, cohesive guide to compassionate communication. The mission teaches us how to offer connection and how to set healthy boundaries with grace when we're rejected. The Good Samaritan shows us how to leap from just passively noticing something to taking life-changing, empathetic action. And the story of Martha and Mary shows us how to listen past someone's angry words to hear the unmet need that's crying out from underneath. Each story builds on the last, giving us a complete roadmap. So what we end up with are these three distinct narratives, right? A mission to the public, a crisis in public, and a conflict in private. But when you look at them through this NVC lens, they reveal these three deeply interconnected lessons about connection, empathy, and needs. It's amazing how together they create this unified, timeless model for how we can navigate our own modern relationships with so much more grace and understanding. And so, that leaves us with one final thought, a question that turns the lens right back on us. In your own life, at your job, with your family, out in your community, who is it that needs you to stop analyzing the question, "Who is my neighbor?" and to simply start acting like one?